Happy Self Love Sunday. I am Tarnisha Moe Sass, your host of Self Love Sundays with Sass, where we come every single Sunday so we can talk about all the ways in which you can better your best. And please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video if it resonates with you or you feel it may resonate with someone else. I am super, super excited for those of you who come every single week and also for those of you who are new. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. And we are going to jump right in. If you've been struggling with some old habits, old ways, or maybe even just some toxic thoughts, this episode is for we're going to be confronting your Goliaths today. Those giants in your life that's been holding you back from loving yourself and living out loud fully. Okay. And one of the things about me is you're going to always hear me say, like, okay, we got to get real though. Okay. We have to get real about the things that we might be a little bit too in love with that are keeping us from moving forward. So, what am I talking about? Like, let's be honest. Some of the things that are keeping us stuck, we're secretly in love with, like real talk. So whether it's an unhealthy relationship, whether I'm talking about friendships, not just partnerships, right? Late night habits that we don't want to talk about. Okay. Late night habits can consist of some people are, over snacking at night. Some people are watching some things they don't have no business, and we're not going to talk about that up on here. Okay. And or negative self talk that you just can't turn away from. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, and I'm going to say this, and just bear with me, you can't turn away from the sin that you're in love with. You can't turn away from the sin that you're secretly in love with. And sin doesn't just mean something wrong, because I like when I say the word sin, it's anything that separates you from your highest self, your purpose, and ultimately the thing that God has called you to, and ultimately your relationship with God. Now, let me give my disclaimer right here, right now. I'm not here to tell you, who you should believe in or what you should believe in. And I will say that on this journey of life, having a spiritual power, a higher authority in your life is everything. And I'm not here to say that you should call your God mine, and I will never shrink back on mine. Okay. So with that being said, I want to say that because when we talk about sin a lot, and it's like, okay, but how do you turn away from something that you seek in love? But listen, I was in love with some things I had no business. Okay. I was in love with goobers and peanut M&Ms at night. Had no business. Okay. Yes, I'm keeping it light and funny for a reason. And we're going to get deeper. But I'm just going to tell you, you can't fight what you fantasize about. If you're still in love with your sin, it's going to be really hard for you to break free from it. So we're going to have to start working on that. I'm not saying it's impossible, because nothing is impossible. And I've broken free from some things I love, and I had to get real about why I love them. What was I in love with it about? And was that thing, and just because I love the thing doesn't mean that it was right for me and that it was good for me. And here's the thing, every every good thing isn't a great thing. And it definitely isn't a God thing. Okay. So I've seen it time and time again, with my coaching business and with me, like it's like people talk about change, but they're still holding on because they're in love with their comfort and familiarity of that thing that they know isn't good for them. So let's talk about it. The number one thing is a toxic relationship. And so what do I mean by that? A relationship where you have to shrink yourself, a relationship where you have to, you're constantly pouring out, not being poured back into, a relationship where it depletes you, a relationship that takes away from you. Okay. Those, and it's hard because secretly we know though that is bad for us, but we're in love with it. And then we have to get real and say, well, why am I in love with that though? Why am I in love with something that's not in love with me? Okay. And to truly love yourself, you have to first stop loving what's destroying you. Like you can't pour into yourself when you're consistently pouring out into areas that can never pour back into you. You understand me? And you can't pour into yourself when you're consistently pouring out into areas and things that are not. Listen, some of those things, people, and places are not your assignment, and that's why you're exhausted. And I know you may have heard some of that stuff before, and maybe you hearing it this time is the bell, is the thing that's going to wake you up and say, you know what am I in love with that's really destroying me? Real talk. What am I eating that's really destroying me? Where am I laying my body that's destroying me? What am I watching that's destroying me? What am I listening to that's secretly destroying me? If it's negative and it's pulling you down, it's not the thing for you. If it's tearing you apart, if it's tearing your family apart, you might want to evaluate those things. And only you know for you. And because we're doing a generalized video, it's very hard for me to really break that down. And you know, like I'm just going like I'll say one thing that I know for sure: people show porn, like real talk. And then we wonder why our relationships is messed up. Is because we're comparing our relationship to fantasy. The same thing about social media. You listen to all these people on social media talk about what it should be and how your life should be and what your in terms of how your relationship should run, not understanding that everything is different for everyone. And so you're holding yourself, your values, your morals, your ethics to someone else. And today is the day that we're gonna stop doing that. And here's what I mean by stop doing that, because I know we can't. Some you can't just stop. Some people can't stop things cold turkey. Okay, everybody doesn't. Everybody can't do that. And this is the day that then we start to look at those things. Let me just say that. So, what are some things that you can do? Spend time really picturing your life and asking yourself, if I continue down this path, what is my future really going to look like? I need you to ask yourself, like, what is this habit costing me? What is this costing me? What is it costing my family? Like these are some real questions. You have to start to I believe questions are the answers. That's why I built the deck exactly like that, filled with questions, because questions are the answer. By you spending time doing that thing that's not that has nothing to do with you winning in life, what is it pulling you away from? Where could you be spending that time? What could you be doing intentionally, right? These are some things I want you to start to ask yourself. And then I want you to create a reverse bucket list. You know how we create a bucket list of all the things we want to do? I want you to create a bucket list of behaviors that you know are not good for you or not in alignment with where you truly want to be in life. Because the only way to eliminate it is to get real. The only way we heal is if we get real. The only way that we get real is we start to really take a look at those things. And so that you can write them down and actively cross those things off. The same way we cross things off the positive bucket list, what are some of the things that you are doing now? Is it are you drinking too much? Are you drinking hard liquor? Are you smoking? Are you listen engaging in gossip all the time? Are you get engaging in negative things that are not uplifting, but things are tearing down, right? Are you the toxic person? Sometimes we are. We don't want to be honest. I know I was at times, and we don't want to be honest about it, but it's time to get real. Okay, so create a reverse bucket list, those things, and that is the behaviors that are negative that you want to take a look at. And this is not to beat ourselves up. Let me just say that, because some people will listen. It's like, oh, I'm so bad. That's not what that is. Okay, and this is not to make ourselves out to be any sort of victims. This is just to be aware of areas in our lives where we want to grow, so that we can start pouring more love into ourselves. And it's saying, I love myself enough to look at these negative behaviors and work on these things so that I can continue to make progress in my life, because I'm not seeking perfection. Okay. And the next thing you can do is get an accountability partnerships, build accountability partnerships around those things, right? So you can find someone or a community that says, hey, I want to break this smoking habit. Hey, and it's a matter of going to there and reporting, listen, I'm not a smoker anymore, and I haven't smoked for 7 days, right? So finding a place where you can go and people can actually hold you accountable to those things. I know some things are really hard, and we feel shame behind, like, having a porn addiction, or if you're watching porn of any sort of nature. I know that would be extremely hard to go to someone with. And anything that you have to hide like that, that's one of the areas I want you to put on that reverse bucket list. Okay. So just in case you didn't know what to put on that list, let me help you. All right. And so it's just kind of looking at those slippery slopes and those old habits, and having the people encourage you to stay on the right path, because how many of you know we need encouragement to keep going? It's not always easy. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to be easy. I'm here to tell you that it's going to be worth it. All right. And so Now that we kind of talked about that, like I want to talk about, confronting your Goliath. What is your Goliath? What is your Goliath? Like, what is that big thing in your life that it's like we all have them? I don't want you to think that you're alone. And it's the thing that seems insurmountable. It's like the obstacles that may make you feel small and powerless and stuck. What are those things? As I'm speaking in this video, I want you to start to think about those things. What are those things that seem like you just can't, those hurdles you just can't get over. Every single year around the same time, you find yourself in the same place, doing the same thing, and maybe possibly the same relationship, and it's making you feel defeated. Your Goliath, for example, could be fear, doubt, past trauma, or just that inner critic. But here's what I want you to know. Ready? Goliaths are meant to be defeated. Goliaths are meant to be defeated. So when you start to think about what's holding you back from fully living out loud, living the life you love and desire, and fully loving you, I want you to know that it's not impossible. Your Goliath isn't too big to defeat. I'm going to tell you this though, your Goliath is not too big to defeat, but it's too big for you to ignore. You cannot ignore it. You have to confront it and watch how small it becomes when you start to confront it. That's how you do it. So what's holding you back from fully loving yourself? What is that? We have to confront it. It isn't too big to defeat. I'm going to say it again, but it's too big for you to ignore. We can no longer ignore these things. For some of you, your Goliath might be that voice telling you that you're not good enough, that you're too old or it's too late. How many of you guys know, I did this to myself, right? When I first hit 40, it's like, man, I should have done this. I should have done that. I'm too old. It's too late. I'm too damaged. I can't change. Like, no. But I want you to remember the story. If you don't know the story about David and Goliath, I want you to go look it up. But he didn't look at Goliath and say, I can't. I need y'all to understand that. David didn't look at Goliath and say, I can't. He looked at Goliath and said, I will. I will. And you know why he was able to say that? Because God is with me. Come on, y'all. It's the same power that's within you. This is why I said earlier, you got to know and become one and build a spiritual relationship with whomever you believe in on this journey of life, because you will be able to say, I will, because my God is with me. Listen, you are stronger than your strongest excuse. The only power Goliath has is the power that you give it. And I'm in a season where I say all the time that you can either have excuses or results, but you cannot have both. Today is the day. Right now in the moment, as you're listening to this, I want you to say, I will defeat that thing. I will accomplish my dreams. I will accomplish my goals. I will become a better version of myself. I will become the top 1% in whatever it is that I'm doing, because my God is with me. Okay? And so what are some things you can do? Write down the things in your life that you feel right now too big to overcome. Again, you cannot heal if you don't get real. You cannot get results if you don't get real. Be very specific about it. What are they? How did they manifest in your life? What were some of the thought patterns? What were some of the behaviors that this thing, is in your life? Like, what happened? You have to get to the root. Okay, because when you get to the root, you pull that thing out at the root. And so when you start doing that root work, right, it's going to start to chop that thing down. All right, develop a battle plan. Okay, like I'm all about, like, I was a soldier in the military. Okay, so that's what you're like, develop a battle plan. Remember, like, okay, so if you don't know the story, David picked up some stones. He identified what tools he needed. He was like, listen, I need this stone. I'm about to bust him in the head. Okay, that's how I talk about. Right, identify the tools you need that's going to help you confront your Goliath. So some of the tools you may need is a therapist, prayer, meditation, not just always speaking to God, but listening, right? Or simply just reaching out for support. Maybe today is the day after listening to this, you pick up the phone and you say to somebody, you know what, I need help. And, I'm sorry that I put myself through this. So the best apology to myself is change behavior. So I'm sorry. And maybe it's apologizing just to your inner child, saying, I'm sorry that I put you through this. And today's the day that I'm going to start to love you better. And I'm going to start to be the mother to you that you always needed and the father to you that you always needed. And I'm sorry. And so the best apology I can ever give you is change behavior. And we're going to make progress every day. And I'm not going to expect you to be perfect. And I'm not going to be perfect in this either. And I'm talking to myself. That's how I want you to talk to you. All right. And then, just take action. What is one, how you eat an elephant, one small bite at a time. Okay. Every day, do one thing that challenges that Goliath. So if there's something, if you feel small, do something that helps yourself feel big. Get in the mirror. Talk to yourself. So listen, I'm not going to tell you that I don't talk to myself. Sometimes I get into the mirror and I start to talk to, girl, you can do this. We got this. You are a great coach. You are a great mom. You are a great friend. You can do this. And then I'm like, I am. And I will. Because all things are possible to them that believe. And I believe what God says about me. Do you believe what God says about you? And if you don't know, this is the time for you to go find out. This is not the time for you to go listen to somebody else tell you what God feels about you. This is the time for you to go find out what God feels and says about you by building that relationship, okay? And then I want you to visualize victory. I want you to close your eyes and see yourself defeating those things that have been coming up against you. And I'm going to tell you, when you make this step, let me just tell you right now, so you know and so you are aware, when you decide to make this step and you decide to take these leaps, everything that's going to try to come against you to keep you staying stuck in that same place, all right? That's the biggest trick of the enemy, to try to keep you in that same small place. Everything is going to come, but you got to see yourself as a winner. You got to see yourself coming out. You got to see your business. You got to see your goals. You got to see your family smiling. You got to see your children happy. Listen, when I'm going through something with my kids, this is the honest to God truth. I get in the visualization and I'll close my eyes and I'll see us talking and I'll see us happy. It doesn't mean it's going to happen the same day. And I know it's going to come because I see the victory. You got to see yourself breaking the chains that bind you. What is that thing? You got to see yourself overcoming those addictions. You got to see yourself being happy. You got to see yourself experiencing joy. See yourself being in a different place if that's where you desire to be. You got to see yourself, because sometimes the things in our environment, it's the very things that are keeping us stuck, and maybe that's your Goliath, your environment. And you have to see yourself outside of that thing. So you have to visualize, you have to see it in the spirit, know that it's coming down. Visualization is the most powerful thing that you have, right? By not looking at everything that's around you right now and seeing further than that, an understanding that everything around you is temporary. So we're not going to make permanent decisions based off that temporary thing. You got to know, with God, you will and you can. You can, you will, you must. That's what Eric Thomas says. And you must, because it's about your legacy that you're going to leave. Why is it important to break these chains? Because guess what? When you break them, then your children don't have to break them and their children don't have to break them. And if you don't have children, then guess what? The people that you come in contact with, you leave an impression whether you know it or not. So why not leave an impactful one of breaking chains so they know that they can too? All right. I love it. So now that we've talked about, some of the things holding you back in your life, right? Um, let's talk about fully breaking free and loving yourself. You gotta listen. At the end of the day, self-love isn't about bubble bath affirmations. I know I talk about it, but that's not what it's about. It's about doing the hard work, y'all. It's about doing the hard inner work to become the best version of yourself. Some of the hardest work I've ever done in my life, was that inner healing on my inner child, right? Like when you talk about, you can't pour from an empty cup, but you also can't keep pouring from a toxic one either. Clean out what's holding you back so you can truly love and pour out from a healthy place. Because people do pour out that toxic stuff. That's why we hear all these negative things all over the internet. That's why we see these people. I mean, there's pages built on just tearing people down. And every time somebody make a mistake, they're just ripping people to shreds, like literally. So you can pour out in that way, and you can be the one to do it differently. Like real talk. They keep talking about you can't pour out from an empty cup. Yeah, but you can't keep pouring out from a toxic one either. So what does that mean? When you're pouring out from an empty space, that's not a great place to pour out from because you become resentful, you become bitter. It happens to people. And it may not happen in all areas. It may be a subtle area that you're not even seeing, where you're lacking patience and losing patience with people, and you're really angry on the inside, but not showing it on the outside. And it all comes to light, right? But when you decide to break free from them things that no longer serve you, when you face those Goliaths head on, when you face the sins that are holding you back head on, that's where real transformation begins, y'all. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to bring up tears and all of those things. And I'm telling you, it's worth it. The best thing I could have ever done for myself was align myself, because when I realized that I wasn't depressed, I was out of alignment. When I realized, like real talk, like I was literally out of alignment. I was doing things, saying things, being around people, people pleasing, all of that's out of alignment. All of it. The true alignment is to love thy neighbor as I love myself. And that means that you got to love yourself first. That means if you don't love yourself, you're truly not loving your neighbor. You're only doing enough so that somebody can give you something back. That's not why you're supposed to do it. So, yes, we're supposed to give. Let's not get this twisted. Yes, we're supposed to give, and we're supposed to give from a loving, joyful place. You know that, like when they say God loves a cheerful giver, that's what he's talking about. But if you're giving from a resentful place, if you're giving from an empty space, if you're giving from, oh, let me just do it because somebody said to do it, that's not the place. Sorry, I'm not sorry about saying that. Fight somebody else, because I'm not going to listen to you when you tell me something different, because I know that I love myself enough to fill myself up. So when I give from a joyous place. When I give to people, I give from a joyous place. I give from a place of wanting to see them succeed and be better and have better, not from a place of, oh, I'm giving so I can get something back. Because a lot of people are not honest about that. A lot of people are just not honest about that. Real talk. And this is why I believe in breaking chains, in being a blessing, and abundance in my life, because you can't give from a broke place. You can't keep being broke, giving broken. Absolutely not. I believe in calling in abundance, and money is a tool. And people who always talk about, oh, money is this, that, yeah, that's because they don't have enough of it to give away. When you are able to give, I promise you, you get in the space of giving, it changes your life. It's the ultimate fulfillment. Ultimate. It's the love of money. You're not supposed to idolize anything, including that sin. So before you come talking in this video or anybody else, listen, I want you to look at yourself and say, what sin am I loving, before I start going to give somebody else something negative to say, or before I start spilling out on everybody else. Because that's the thing. Everybody's commenting on everybody else's video and not looking at their own lives. Look at yourself first. Okay. All right, I digress. Now let me get back, because this is why I'm so passionate about it, because you deserve to live a life that's free. Y'all, it's about freedom. You deserve to live a life of freedom, freedom and purpose. And it takes this to get into our purpose. And freedom doesn't come from running away. It comes from facing what's been chasing you. What is that thing that's chasing you? What is that thing that's holding you back? What is that thing that says you're not good enough? What is that thing that says you're not worthy? What is that thing that says you're not smart? What is that thing? Where did it come from? Gather your tools and slay it, bit by bit by bit. Know that you can. Know that you can't do it alone. I didn't do it alone. But the reason why I'm talking about the tools, the therapy, and the coach, and the community, because those were the things that I did. I didn't do it alone. I have 6 people that I call on. We talk every single Thursday to help keep me accountable. All right. So I'm not telling you anything from theory. I'm telling you what I walked through, and I want to see you walk through it, because I want to see you win. I know, and everybody can win. My mission is to impact 1,000,000, and I promise you I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it because I told God I will, and I know he's going to be with me. It's just a matter of who's going to be a part of the million, who's going to come into my community, who's going to come into my business, who's going to listen to my video, and it's going to be done. Because I decided to slay the Goliath that kept telling me that I'm not good enough, the Goliath that kept telling me that I wasn't old enough, that I'm too old, the Goliath that kept holding me back, telling me that I wasn't a good mom, and I wasn't a good friend, and I wasn't a good this. Instead of listening to all that, I went and became it. And I still walk through it, because I'm not perfect, I'm progressing. So how, right? I got you. Apply the 1% rule. Listen, there's a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits. It's It's one of the most powerful ways to create lasting change. If you haven't read that book, please read it. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. You can go to the library. I'm not telling you to buy a book if you can't afford it. Go to the library. I did that. Get yourself a library card. It's the best thing you could ever do. Library cards are free. You just have to have an ID, just so you know, right? Is by focusing on tiny incremental improvements. So instead of trying to overhaul your life, like let me just throw it all out, right? Let me just throw all the food out the cabinet. Some people can't do that. Aim to improve just by 1%. So what could that look like? Well, if you're a person who eats junk food every single day, what it could look like is every single day at night. What it could look like is on Monday, no junk food, just cold turkey with it, right? Or it could look like on Monday, instead of eating the whole bag, okay, of chips, all right, you do a little snack bag, right? Small changes, all right. These small wins are going to accumulate, and then when you see like, man, I'm doing it, and you start to see some of the progress maybe in your body or in your mood, right? It's going to be like, yo, I got this, and it's going to lead to significant change over time, right? So for example, if you're trying to reduce negative self-talk, let's just say that, right? Start by catching yourself once a day, like starting today, and reframe the thought, right? So if you start to feel like, man, I'm not good enough, so I can't do this, like, yes I can. Hey, you can do this. We got this. Start to tell yourself, like, yo, I love you. I love you so much. And right now, I know that you may be feeling that you're not worthy. And I know that we are. We are. We're worthy of the life that we want. We're worthy of the love that we want. And guess what? If a human form is not here right now loving me, I know that God does. I know that God loves me because I'm still here. I'm still able. Right? So start to talk to yourself like that. Okay. And then so do it once today, tomorrow twice, right? So just small little things. It's going to compound. You talk about compound interest, do compounding positive self-talk. In the end, build your identity. I teach people how to build an identity. That's how I got here too. I built this identity. You best to believe it, because it wasn't always here. I didn't always love myself enough to do it. So I built it until I could teach myself how. Okay. So another strategy from Atomic Habits is habit stacking. So what that could look like is take yourself on a walk, right? So say if you haven't been walking, all I want you to do is just do 14 minutes. Okay. Set your alarm to walk out the door 7 minutes. When the alarm goes off, walk back. That's 14 minutes, right? So during that walk, maybe listen to something positive. Again, if you have a phone, listen to something on YouTube that's free. That's going to help your mindset, all right? Because I want you to know that it's all in your mind, honey. It's all in that subconscious mind, and we got to work on the mind, okay? So that's a way to easy habit stack. All right. Another way to habit stack is, if you don't listen, just practice gratitude. Oh, I'm so grateful to be walking. I'm so grateful for the trees. I'm so grateful for the sun. I'm so grateful that I can hear. I'm so grateful that I can see. I'm so grateful that I can love, right? So building that habit. You can even do that while you're brushing your teeth, looking in the mirror, you know? So just that's what we mean by habit stacking, right? So habits are the building blocks of change. That's why that book is so dope. So stack your new habits on top of existing ones, and soon it'll be seamless, meaning that the new habits will start to overtake some of the bad ones. Okay. So for example, I know I talked about a porn addiction before. So if you're having a hard time with that, maybe when you feel the need to go watch that, that's the time when you are trigger yourself to go and call a friend, or call a counselor, or call a therapist, or set up a system for you to win. Okay. Set up a system for you to win. All right. So I'm just saying, like, by applying these principles from like Atomic Habits, and even some of the principles I gave you today, you're not just making changes, you're building a new foundation. How many of you know that you have to have a strong foundation? What happens is, right now there are cracks in our foundations where we don't love ourselves enough. We don't see ourselves the way that God sees us. We don't believe what God believes about us. So there's cracks in our foundation. So what we're doing by doing this work is we're building that firm foundation. And when you build a firm foundation, just when you can go and build your house of your goals and your dreams, and I promise you, you can have it. You can have it. You can have a life of full fulfillment. right? It just takes for you to start to believe. And how you start to believe is start by doing one thing at a time, building yourself 1% at a time, getting yourself in the right places around the right in the right time around the right people. It's going to change your life. That's why community is important. That's why you're going to hear me talk about it all the time. That's why I'm building one. There are many out there. Okay, I talked about it last week, so I'm not going to keep going down that rabbit hole, of course, but I'm just so passionate about it because I know that these small things are going to be the very thing that's going to change your life. You want immediate relief in your life. You want to get out of survival mode. You want to not feel like, there's never enough money to do the things that you want to do. These are some of the ways to help that. You have to confront your money issue. What are your money blocks? You got to confront them. You know what it probably is things that you've heard over time that people said about money. Things people said about people who have money. So now your mind is blocked. So this is why you got to work on your subconscious mind. There's nothing wrong with those people. There's something wrong with the way people think about those people. You understand me? And there could be something wrong with those people, but you got to understand what I'm saying here, right? You can't criticize the very thing you're trying to call in. You're talking about everything and everybody. You cannot criticize that which you want to call in, okay? We have to start thinking from a different space. We want to call in abundance, but yet we're talking about everybody else. Like I'm telling you, I've seen more videos about Pastor Keon, and he's asking people for to give to the church because the church, um, it was destroyed in a tornado, and everybody's talking about, he's asking money. We don't have money. They and rich people ask us for the donate. We don't have. Listen, you're advocating for the very thing, the very place that you are. Listen, repetition is mastery. Every time you keep speaking about your out your mouth about what you don't have, I'm broke, I don't have, I'm broke, I don't have. Guess what you're saying to your subconscious mind? Well, I'm broke and I don't have, and so therefore you stay broke and you don't have. I'm not telling you to give to anything. I'm telling you that to listen to what you're saying to yourself over and over and over again. You've allowed other people to put those thoughts in you, and so you therefore, let me tell you something. Half you guys don't even realize you're not even living your own life. You're living the life that somebody told you. You're living the thoughts that somebody else gave you. You're living your bitter thoughts. That's why all these think pieces and stuff are going around here. Listen, if you don't want to give, don't give. That's not the point of that. But you keep advocating for your brokenness every single time you say it. You keep advocating for it. How can you get in a place of abundance? I'm telling you right now, broke is a mindset. And I can say that because I was a 322 a month welfare mother. So don't come on my video and tell me what I can't say because of where I am now. I'm telling you how I got to where I am now. And I'm telling you how I'm going to where I'm going next. It was a mindset. It was the things I speak. Life and death is in your tongue. You have to start to change the things that you are saying. Stop advocating for the place you are. You wonder why you're in a broke place because you keep speaking it. You keep saying it over and over again. And don't get it twisted. I understand. This is why I told you to visualize yourself outside of yourself. When you start to visualize things, you start to read other books, it opens your minds. It actually, because like if you envision like library shelves in your mind, when you start to read and knock down those old shelves, it brings room for the new things to come in. The new things can't come in because you're still stuck on the same programming over and over again. I'm broken, I don't have, and these people have, and this and this and that and the other. They have the nerve to ask me for this and that. Like, what are you doing? You cannot criticize what you are trying to call in. You can't keep advocating for being broke, busted, and disgusted. And I was there. So if you want to know how I did it, I'm telling you in all of these videos how I've done it. And yes, it took me to get into action. I worked 2 and 3 jobs at one time. Real talk, 2 full-time jobs and toward in the gym. When I tell you that attitude of either you have results of excuses, that's how I live my life. It's really real. That's how I live my life. And I had children. That's why I don't allow these excuses. I had kids. I was never late to work. It had to be something, a serious accident to happen for me to ever be late. And I understand that people will say during my generation, because I was generational excellent, I was born in 75, they may say it was toxic and all of that. And we didn't have mental health because it was no excuses. I couldn't be sick and tired. Like I had to get it done. And I'm not saying that that's right. I'm telling you, these are the things that I did to move from that to get into a space to start to call in. I had to stop criticizing people that had more than me. I couldn't look at people and and be upset. I started getting happy. Yo, when I started getting happy for other people, happiness started coming to me. I promise you. When I saw people win awards, I was like, oh my God, that's so dope. That's so like, yeah, and it started to come in for me. Like, I just want you guys to hear that today. And I know I'm on my soapbox a little bit, but I understand that this is also somebody else's Goliath right now. And I want you to know I get it that it's not easy. I cried. You think I wanted to be 322 a month? No. Back then I didn't really know any better. But no. I'm just telling you that you can turn it all around. You gotta get real. You gotta get into you. You gotta stop looking at everybody else's life. You gotta stop judging everybody else's life. You just gotta start working on you. You gotta start getting with the right people that are not talking about those things. And you gotta start watching the right things. Monitor your ear and eye gates as you grow. You are vulnerable and you're sensitive right now. So be sure that you use your discernment, and when you're speaking to people, get around people who are going to lift you up and not call you to those things. Anybody that's calling you to those negative things, anybody that's calling you to gossip about somebody, anybody that's calling you to tear somebody else down and not build them up, that ain't it. Those are not the people. Those are not your people. Okay. I love you for listening today. I hope you have the most amazing, amazing Sunday, and I will talk to you next week. Bye, y'all.